This is one of Apple's last products before a huge shift in the way they build the rest of their products. This MacBook Pro stands as a final step towards Apple's 2025 goals of 100% recycled cobalt in the batteries, 100% recycled tin soldering and 100% recycled gold plating in the circuit boards, 100% recycled rare earth elements in all magnets, to reach the ultimate goal of being carbon neutral for their entire carbon footprint by 2030. And what makes it truly unique and potentially the last of its kind is its significant leap already in sustainable materials. This isn't just a MacBook review. This is a look at what could be one of Apple's final steps towards a sustainable future. Looking at the system information, you can see that this model has 12 cores with 24 gigs of memory. And right up front, it's worth noting that the total product footprint is 218 kilograms of CO2 equivalent. We'll talk more about what that number means later, and I'll also compare it against some other models too. But you should know that this machine was built with sustainability in mind. The entire enclosure is 100% recycled aluminium. All magnets, like those in the lid and the hinge area, as well as the MagSafe 3 connector, are all from 100% recycled rare earth elements. Next to that, you can see the 2 USB ports, a headphone jack, which I sometimes use for my lavalier. And on the other side, you can plug in an HDMI cable. There's another USB port and a memory card slot. I travel a lot. I just went to my 110th country, Guyana. So this MacBook is a comfortable size to travel with, especially if you're doing hand luggage only, for example. The MacBook and the iPad fit nicely into the front slot of my backpack. Unless you open the MacBook, you won't be able to see that there is 100% recycled copper and 100% recycled tin in the solder of multiple circuit boards, with 100% recycled gold in the plating. But no need to open it anyway, since Apple don't let you upgrade your specs yourself. Overall, in this M4 Pro model, more than 35% of the total product content is recycled materials. And to actually build the MacBook, 45% of the electricity used to manufacture this MacBook Pro is sourced from low carbon energy. This is specifically highlighted in Apple's report as part of their supplier clean energy program. So this ensures that the power comes from sources like solar, wind, and not fossil fuels. Speaking of power, when PC Mag ran creative benchmark tests like on Adobe Photoshop, this MacBook Pro performs well for many tasks, but it's definitely not at the top tier of Apple's current lineup. It consistently places fourth from last among other powerful Macs, and similar results can also be seen in other CPU tests like Cinebench. So while it's a capable machine, it's not the best that Apple offers for that pure raw power. But if you're sticking with less demanding things like web browsing, meetings, and general productivity tasks, then your real-world use of this laptop will be great. It handles even the most complex spreadsheets really well, like my Vitality spreadsheet, which is a comprehensive database of every single whole food known to humans. I've written complex app scripts. It's full of tabs to make a meal planner that's automated, that pulls up the data of your macros, minerals, carotenes, vitamins, and the works for your morning, afternoon, evening on a daily basis, so that everything is automated so you can just jump straight to the data. So much of tech's impact seems so out of our hands. So I created that Vitality spreadsheet so we can kind of precisely control what we consume, because of course this affects our outcomes. You can check it out yourself and see exactly what I mean. The link is below. I must say, the iPad to MacBook workflow is like a beautiful marriage. I really enjoy drawing in Adobe Illustrator, and then I airdrop that file over to my MacBook, and then I continue my workflow. For simple photo editing, you can use this MacBook's built-in app Photos and remove things from your image with this cleanup tool. For Lightroom retouching photos or videos, it is smooth, but for Photoshop manipulations, sometimes I do get the loading circle of doom. This could be an Adobe problem though. The factories that put this MacBook together operate under a zero waste to landfill policy. This means that no established MacBook Pro 14-inch final assembly supplier sites generate any waste that gets sent to landfill. So instead they reuse, recycle, so there's no trash. So technically, this isn't brand new, it's upcycled. Toxins like arsenic, mercury, PVC have been concerns in the electronic industry to humans and also to the environment. With this MacBook Pro, Apple have committed to smarter chemistry. The report explicitly states that it has arsenic-free glass, mercury-free, brominated flame retardant-free, and is PVC-free. Whenever we know that products are being made in a toxic environment, we immediately think about those people who are working in that toxic environment. Apple are completely aware of this, and now they're using smarter chemicals. The report says that all established MacBook Pro 14-inch final assembly supplier sites use safer cleaners and degreasers in their manufacturing processes. I already got rid of the packaging, but it's important to note that it is 100% fiber-based. That means that the entire packaging, such as boxes, inserts, etc., is made from fiber-based materials like paper or cardboard. Of those materials, 51% are from recycled sources, and anything that uses new wood fiber is from a responsible source. To say that the wood is from a responsible source is something that you should probably pay attention to, because any company can say, oh, we've got cardboard packaging, we've got paper packaging, but they could also have slashed and burnt down a forest to get there. That isn't responsible. So on one hand, you have this natural fiber, but then on the other hand, it wasn't sourced responsibly. It's come at a cost of the planet. As this MacBook only comes with 512 gigs of space, I just work off my hard drive. So I never run out of space, but I always run out of RAM. The current price point for this model is £1,999 and $1,999 So I don't think that they made the conversion there. And bear in mind that opting for higher spec configurations can influence the overall environmental footprint, because the manufacturing energy for a more powerful machine can lead to a higher carbon cost. The data in the report shows this. You can see that the greenhouse gas emissions for this MacBook is at 198 kilograms CO2 equivalent. And you can see that the emissions for the M4 Max 1 terabyte is 248 kg of CO2 equivalent. So this shows that opting for higher end configurations does increase the overall carbon footprint. The difference also highlights how buying decisions are more complicated when you're focused on sustainability, because you have to measure, do I want high performance versus, oh, but do I want a more sustainable laptop? So the only question would be what color to go for. Nobody sees mine anyway because it's protected by this case, which I 100% recommend because the sides have already started to crack. If the price of this MacBook Pro is too high for you, but you want a sustainable laptop, there are other options. Head over to my website where you can see all the new laptops out right now, along with their sustainability features. You can use the eco filters to filter by what matters most to you, whether it's recycled cobalt or ocean-bound plastic and everything in between. Right, back to performance. Even when I put this MacBook Pro in high performance mode, it cracks under pressure. This broken glass animation doesn't render unless I split it into parts. And when I use After Effects with Premiere Pro, its playback lags. And some effects don't even work and they completely fail at rendering. Look, I'm trying to open After Effects and it's not even opening. If you can see over here, it's been generating these files for quite some time. We're still waiting for just the project to load up. In Premiere Pro, I always have to play it back at a quarter playback resolution. And it kind of lags. So if you don't have a resource-heavy workload, then you have nothing to worry about. But truthfully, my workflow is sometimes frustrating. Oh, I use workarounds to get around this so I don't end up going crazy, but it does get frustrating. I don't think that this machine is powerful enough, and it's not as simple as me paying extra for the higher spec, because as we mentioned, going for a higher spec machine means going for a higher carbon footprint. So you kind of just weigh that out and say, okay, I'll just do the workaround. I'll just, I'll be patient. The sustainability features of this MacBook really stood out for me at the time of buying, and this is why I'm committed to this M4 Pro model, but the M4 Max would have been perfect. But its 1TB configuration has a carbon footprint of 248 kilograms of CO2 equivalent. To put that in perspective, that's nearly 6 months of electricity for an average home in the UK. The 512GB model comes in at 198 kilograms CO2 equivalent of greenhouse gases. That's roughly equivalent to 4.5 months of electricity consumed by the average home in the UK. But what about the bigger sibling, that 16-inch model? It's quite interesting because when you take a look at the environmental report of that model, you'll see that they actually have 40% recycled or renewable content. So that's 5% more compared to this 14-inch model, but I just think that's because it's bigger. It also shares those impressive 100% recycled material stats like for gold, tin, copper in its circuit boards, and recycled rare earth elements in its magnets. However, when it comes to the carbon footprint, the sheer size and power of the 16-inch model naturally has led to higher emissions. All of that power comes at an even larger carbon footprint, so you have to compromise. Do you want performance or do you want planetary impact?
Mother Nature. In 2020, you promised to bring Apple's entire carbon footprint to zero by 2030.
Watching Apple's sustainability ad was the first time Apple ever caught my attention. I still have the iPhone 13 mini. It's not that I don't believe Apple. I just know how complicated this is.
Said we have a profound opportunity to build a more sustainable future for the planet we share.
One of the worst feelings is climate anxiety. It's the feeling that all of these sustainability issues are out of your control. We know about what's happening in the cobalt mines. We don't want a part of it. We don't want to contribute to the plastic contamination that's going on out there, harming the environment, local communities, contaminating, knowing that this doesn't biodegrade for 500 years, outliving us, not caring about the future generations to come. We don't want to contribute to that. We want to make a change, but at the same time, the frustration is that it's out of our hands, and we do need to use these products to coexist. So what Apple are doing right now is showing us what can be done. I know that this is a company that, pride themselves in innovation, but this is pretty serious. After analyzing all of this data about laptops, I have seen that there is a trend of upcycling happening at the moment. Even with Apple leading the way, many companies are using recycled materials, ocean-bound plastic, and reducing waste. So that could mean that we're taking steps away from newly mined materials. If this is the last MacBook before Apple transitions to 100% recycled cobalt and other sustainable materials, then this is a strong step in the right direction. They made this commitment a couple of years ago, and they have actually stuck to their word with their newer products that have been released this year, like the MacBook Air, the iPhone, the iPads, and the Mac Studio. Apple, if you're listening, you have a whole audience out here who are fully committed to a sustainable future, as are you. So let's see it. We want to see you innovate. We want to see you push even further and make every single one of your products fully sustainable. But we also want that sustainability matched with high performance. So innovate that.